We finally returned to my beloved Castlevania series. This review is going to cover their sophomore release on the Nintendo DS, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Released in December 2006, it came out only a year after the previous game in the series, Dawn of Sorrow. Now, at this point, I wouldn't own my Nintendo DS for another year, but you can bet I picked this gem up when I did get one. Much like the handheld titles in the series before it, Portrait of Ruin follows the Metroidvania style of gameplay, allowing complete freedom to journey wherever you want to a certain extent. The year is 1944 and takes place in Europe during World War II. A continuation of the Castlevania Bloodlines storyline, the main character of the game isn't even a Belmont. It's a character called Jonathan Morris, a descendant of John Morris, one of two main playable characters from Bloodlines. Jonathan is joined for the first time in the series as co-op gameplay by Charlotte Owlin. She is the second connection in the game to a previous release. In her case, she descends from the Belnades clan, from which Sypha was a member of during the events of Castlevania 3. While Jonathan wields the legendary vampire killer, he can't use it correctly because he's not really a Belmont. Charlotte is a mage, being able to cast powerful magical spells. You journey together to Dracula's castle, and along the way you learn that 3 vampires have taken control of the castle, and are hoping to harness the power of the Prince of Darkness to destroy humanity. Yep, that sounds original, alright. Leading this ravenous bunch is Browner, who used the souls of the fallen from World War II to recreate the castle. He is also responsible for creating the portraits, pocket dimensions to draw power from the castle. He is joined by 2 sisters, Stella and Loretta. Although they initially think Browner is their father, it is later revealed that they are actually the daughters of Eric Lacard, the other protagonist from Bloodlines. At this point, there's so many references to previous games in the series, they should have just called it Castlevania Bloodlines Severed, or even Bloodlines 2. I would have been content with either. Anyways, Jonathan and Charlotte are not alone in their adventure. Helping them along the way is a simple merchant named Vincent Dorn, who sells the pair items and weapons and other knickknacks. The other supporting character is an apparent ghost named Wind, who distills information and also has skills that are unlockable via completing challenges. Later on in the game, it is revealed that Wind is actually the ghost of Eric Lacard, the true father of Stella and Loretta, and the other protagonists from Castlevania Bloodlines, which I thought was a pretty cool surprise. As previously mentioned, Dracula's castle is laid out in a non-linear fashion. I tend to think of this game as having a dual branching system, because not only do wings of the castle branch off from the main center, but the paths branch again via entering each magical painting, thus transporting you to an alternate world separate from the main castle. Speaking of the paintings, there are 9 in total. While they do share some similarities between them, they are, for the most part, pretty varied. You have the sand dunes of Sandy Grave to the vertigo-inducing Burnt Paradise. From the darkened landscapes of Forest of Doom to the gothic architecture-inspired City of Haze. Especially speaking of Sandy Grave, being an environment that we really haven't seen in the Castlevania universe before. During your travels, you'll face a varied amount of enemies, mostly new, some returning. My favorites are probably the crazy clowns from Nation of Fools, and the large sand pharaoh dudes in Sandy Grave. Yes, I'm aware I'm going to be mentioning Sandy Grave a lot during this review. Taking advantage of the hardware the DS has, there's excellent use of scaling and effects work. Spells, enemies, attacks, and other visual elements are presented nicely. Being a co-op game, there are many instances where the game requires you to work either collectively to progress, or use each character separately to complete a puzzle. Some can be a little tricky for the first time, but eventually you'll figure it out. For the most part, unless it's a boss fight, I play as Jonathan. I mean, Charlotte's spells are cool and all, but when it comes down to basic Castlevania play, using spells all the time just doesn't cut it for me. The variety of whips that Jonathan can use are designed well, and it's a nice addition to the game to be able to use more than just a single whip through the whole entire game. Unlike Dawn of Sorrow though, each character is limited to using their standard weapons throughout the game, so no swords, axes, etc. The sub-weapons return as well, and in addition to their standard use, by combining both characters' attack, you can perform a super version. The dagger super attack is incredibly powerful against bosses. Bosses in the game are as different as the worlds themselves. Thank God the fucking touchscreen boss killing symbol bullshit from Dawn of Sorrow was removed. Like Symphony of the Night before it, you also acquire helpful items and relics to assist you. Powers like sliding, being able to jump off your partner's head as a double jump, and the ability to transform into an owl or frog for exploration purposes. Transportation portals return as well, although they are much more plentiful this time around. One thing that does stand out to me as a negative is the world design itself. Overall, they're fine, but if you take a closer look, you'll notice, as I did, that most of them are very symmetrical in nature. I mean, very symmetrical. Almost to the point of not even needing the fucking map because it's nearly impossible to get lost or confused as to where you're supposed to go. Just reveal one half of the map? Guess what? You already know what the other half looks like. Some of the levels do have a nice design, but unfortunately, most of them seem to have an abundance of just empty rooms and corridors with nothing in them, like the designers either ran out of time or creativity and just left them be. Audio for the most part is on par with the usual Castlevania fare. Not really any standouts I found, but the music for the entrance part of the castle is quite catchy. There isn't much voice work, but what little there is works. Sound effects are done well with whip cracking, enemy explosions, and other random sounds having quality. Overall, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin is a great addition to the franchise, and is one of the top reasons I decided to buy a Nintendo DS in the first place. The graphics, the music, the gameplay, the environments, it's all a great and fun adventure. If you haven't given it a shot yet, don't pass it up. It isn't as good as Dawn of Sorrow, but at least it's better than Order of Ecclesia. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, go check it out. Don't forget to check out my Twitch account for live shoot-'em-up action, my real-time playthrough videos, MAME Mondays, and other fun gaming videos as well.